System of a Down's guitarist, vocalist and songwriter Daron Malakian has been sitting on this one for a while. Dictator, the latest release from his solo project Daron Malakian and Scars on Broadway, lands a week shy of their eponymous debut record and will, hopefully, enjoy more attention from SOAD fans than its predecessor. With a dynamism and ferocity like few other releases so far this year, Dictator shines a light on Malakian's musical prowess. He performs all of the instruments on the record in addition to vocal duties, creating a shifting, immersive mood that delves into everything from straight-up thrash to early 80s metal and signature, Middle Eastern-influenced guitar. Ray Davies, Everybody's Haunted by a Secret. While the album was recorded 6 years ago, there's an immediate relevance on tracks such as The Fearsome, We Won't Obey, Your Politics Will Never Corrupt Me, Malakian Roars, and Talkin' Shit. On the first single, Lives, Malakian encourages Armenians to be proud of the culture and heritage, regardless of the tyranny that has oppressed them in the past. Surprise has come in the shape of a slow sprawling instrumentational cover of GMOU by Stamatis Kokotis, a singer referred to fondly as the Greek Elvis. On the intro of Guns Are Loaded, there's a techno buzz beneath the delicate picks on the guitar that hums menacingly like a swarm of insects. Sickening Wars, one of the heaviest tracks on the album, is a powerhouse featuring Malakian alternating between monstrous guitar riffs and dramatic, thrashing drum beats. Dictator is everything fans might expect from Malakian and more, a complex, thoughtful and invigorating album that nods to his own personal history and simultaneously links to the wider, tumultuous landscape of America. Roisin O'Connor, Popcaan, Forever. Popcaan's debut album mixed pop bangers with experimental sounds, low-key moments with huge choruses, 13 dancehall tracks that scored rave reviews and won him guest spots on tracks from Gorillaz and Jamie XX. 4 years later, the Jamaican singer returns with another highly anticipated solo release, hoping to capitalize on those famed guest spots. The results are, unfortunately, very mixed. At 17 tracks long, Forever has the components of a solid album but becomes overstuffed, needing cutting down and reshaping to fulfill Popcaan's previously seen potential. The first few tracks are an unrelenting rush of mass appeal dancehall tracks, featuring heavy auto-tune and smooth drum beats. Each one becomes increasingly difficult to differentiate from the other, following a very similar structure, with no particular standout choruses. They're perfectly pleasant songs, but completely skippable, apart from standouts. Body is good, with its notably more interesting production and a strong sing-along chorus and instantly likable. Naked, the real break comes 10 tracks in with Left My Gun, its slinky minimal production and foreboding lyrics catching your attention. Forever picks up from here. Although some of the songs follow that same pop structure seen on the first half, by contrasting them with more experimental sounds that are not hoping to top the charts, they have much more impact. Unrich emphasizes this, featuring Davido as a great guest whose vocal style bounces perfectly off Popcaan's. By the time Firm and Strong, the second-last song, comes around, there's a feeling that this could have been a great record. As the longest track at almost 5 minutes, the rest are all well under 4. Popcaan has time to introduce a choral singers and actually play with sounds. On the last track, a WHUSU even has a slow, solo piano at the end, threatening to do something really different. Jack Shepherd, Skeletonwitch, Devouring Radiant Light, having not released a record in 5 years, the longest such stint in the 15-year career. The sixth album from Ohio metalers Skeletonwitch arrives on a wave of anticipation. Thankfully, and despite the propensity of some tracks to hang around longer than they might need to, it lives largely up to expectations. With Skeletonwitch, by and large, falling under the umbrella term of black metal, it's unsurprising that Devouring Radiant Light should be as heavy and as blisteringly uncompromising a record as it is. That said, while certainly an exercise in catharsis, it's also a nuanced release, perfectly exhibiting the band's understanding of black metal's more refined facets. Interpol explore the inner marauder on the new album, Interview. Much like a microcosm of the album, it kicks off with opening number, Fen of Shadows, an 8-minute epic that introduces listeners to the multitude of elements that recur over the album's runtime. From the steadily building, uplifting intro, the calamitous drums, caustic vocal delivery are constantly shifting time signatures. It's the perfect storm of black metal tropes, giving listeners the first taste of this album, sure, but also of what the band are referring to as Skeletonwitch 2.0. Tracks such as the blistering Temple of the Sun take no prisoners, taking little time before exploding into the kind of full frontal assault we've come to expect from the heavier side of metal. Elsewhere, the Luminous Sky takes a more frenetic approach, though feels no less uncompromising, while The Sacred Soil closes out a record that not only shows exactly where Skeletonwitch are in 2018, but also where contemporary metal is at as well. Dave Beach, Punch Brothers, All Ashore. All Ashore, the fifth album from Brooklyn's Punch Brothers, is a difficult one to pin down. One part forward-thinking and avant-garde, the other steeped in the traditional sounds of the home country. It's a record both open and expansive while feeling understated and harboring a quiet, almost intelligence. The album opens with a gently building title track, which introduces listeners to the record's fragile aesthetic perfectly. And while established fans of the band will find it business as usual for the five-piece, the uninitiated will find an album of rich instrumentation and understated beauty that reveals deeper nuances on each and every listen. Songs such as 3 Dots and a Dash, for instance, or Jungle Bird, skid and skitter with wild abandon, as guitars, banjos and violins play off each other perfectly. Elsewhere, the likes of Look at This Mess exhibit a slightly more somber, less giddy side to Punch Brothers' songcraft, providing some brief respite from those more excitable tracks. For the most part, All Ashore feels like a breath of fresh Appalachian air. Both forward-thinking and imbued with an appreciation of the traditional sounds of America, it might not harbor a universal sense of appeal, but that makes it all the more beguiling for those who that fall for it. Dave Beach.